So we always like to give a few minutes, the extra 5 minutes to get started, just because we want to make sure, there's other sessions going on, and we want to make sure everyone gets settled in. But we're excited to have you join us tonight. We're presenting the Office of Residential Life, and we're gonna chat a little about housing options, applying, everything like that. My name is James Timothy. I'm the Assistant Director for Residential Life.
My name is Brian Placino. I'm the Associate Director for Residential Life.
And hi, everyone. I'm Nick Dunham, and I'm a Graduate Coordinator in Atlantic City for Res Life.
So,
Awesome. And so what we're going to be doing this evening is we're going to give you some opportunity for, we're going to give you some information on housing. We'll give you an opportunity to ask some questions. Nick here is a grad coordinator. He can share some of the different things we do programming-wise and just some general feels for what we look to do. Obviously, we have two different kinds of models that we do in that area. One is when we're in a pandemic and one when we're not. And so we'll answer some of those questions I'm sure you'll have as well. We'll talk about, housing styles, what kind of housing we've got, what that process is for applying. And, we'll keep going till the wheels fall off. Okay. So I know you may have some things after this if you're going to. If you don't, we'll stay here a little, till we get the questions answered that we have to get answered for you. So, let's jump right into it.
yep. And if you think of questions along the way, feel free to throw them in the chat on on Zoom. I will say if we don't answer you right away, we might get to the information later, but we'll make sure we circle back with everyone as we go through. So, all right. Jumping into housing, I mean, one of the burning questions for a lot of students looking at Stockton is, well, how do you apply? Where do you start? So once you're accepted as a student to the university, your student, you'll actually get a Z number, which is our student ID number that we use. They'll get their login information. They'll get the details on how to actually get to their Go portal, all their details there. And then on the student life tab, we have our area for, applying for housing. So with the application availability, if you're eyeing up Stockton to live on campus for this upcoming academic year, which is starting fall 21 and spring 22, that application is available right now. So you can log on. Students can sign up for the 9-month contract, which provides them housing for both the fall and spring semesters. We also have an option for adding winter and or summer. When you add both those sessions, so technically all three for the 9-month, winter and summer, it gives you a 12-month contract. So what we'll actually do is we'll give a discount, for students staying for the full year that allows students to pretty much have continuous housing throughout. We found when we first introduced this, it was actually really popular with a lot of students who, whether it's your first year as a freshman, maybe your first year as a transfer, or down the line later on, once you've really kind of found your way to land down here, because you're going to get jobs, internships, opportunities in the local area. We really want to make sure that we provide housing throughout for students. So with that, I can definitely say is that, if you're interested when you sign that contract, you can add those extra sessions, but we'll also work with you if you decide you need to add them and take them away later on. When we talk about priority deadlines, the big note about this is that it's not an official deadline. However, we do have for our incoming freshmen, our incoming transfers, dates that are important that if you're interested in housing, to get the application done by that date. Essentially, for freshmen, it's June 1st, and transfers, it's August 1st. After those dates, we will still take your housing application, because we understand students come into this thinking, oh, I don't need housing, I have plans, I'm going to live with my, my cousins, my aunt. Then you realize what that's going to be like and you want to move on campus. We do accept applications always, but after those priority dates, it just means that you may not get your assignment along the line with other freshmen transfers that have applied, but you will be put on a rolling wait list. And as soon as we have availability, we'll let you know your assignment. On this page, it also has a note about spring applications. With some students, transferring in a little later, some students want to, they take an extra term semester to get to college. So we also have an option to apply for spring only. So just keep that in mind that around October of every academic year, that's actually around the time when we release the upcoming spring application. So that, and for that, typical priority deadlines are usually December 1st for all students. All right. I'll kind of run through this again. So, I mean, I did cover it already. I should forgot this slide comes after. But, just as a note is that when you sign the contract, you do always check the 9-month box, when you're applying during the fall, but you can add winter and summer right there. What happens is with the discounted rate, we will actually bill those students. For the winter housing, they'll get the bill in late October, and for summer housing in late March. So that's just good to keep in mind. It's unfortunately not upfront with the term bill, but we do apply it around those times. But it is a great way to stay on campus at a great price during the off times. All right.
And I'll burn through this real quick. Essentially, it's really simple. Sign the contract. On there, you'll select if you're doing 9-month, winter, summer, both of them, and submit the housing deposit, $150. You put that in. That gets attached. It takes 2 to 3 business days for it to update in that system that you're looking at, and that's it. If you're in a situation where you pay the deposit on a Saturday, it might take till Tuesday, Wednesday, things like that. But otherwise, it's all you have to do. And then that housing deposit, once you actually do move on campus, will come off your housing total. It's not an additional fee or what's going on with that. It will come off your bill. The housing deposits will come right off that. So I think we're good on this slide, James.
I'll just say the one note when you look at the application, the deposit page of the application has a bubble above it. It does not fill in. A lot of students go looking there to see if it completes, but there is an application status page that will show the deposit is checked off once you're there.
Continuing on the application, it'll ask for emergency contact information, your personal profile, housing preferences, roommate preferences, meal plan selection. The meal plan section opens in August, actually. Now, one thing I want to stress here is for those people in the audience who are, some sort of parental contact or, someone who's coming here on behalf of their student. Let the students fill this out with you or let them fill it out themselves. And here's why this is important. For the personal profile, the roommate preferences, things like that, we have procured questions that we ask them, and we need to know about them. And the reason we need this is because that's how we pair freshmen with freshmen. That's how we try to keep students as close as possible to having the same likes as each other. One question might be, are you an early bird? Are you getting up at 7 a.m. in the morning every day versus is 1 a.m. a normal bedtime for you? And sometimes we find some people will fill that out as to what they want their student to become or as they want themselves to become, rather than filling it out earnestly and honestly. And here's the problem with that. That doesn't make good for us matching students up to be successful in their freshman year. And that's ultimately what's important, is to make sure we're getting that information in there. In addition, for emergency contact, I must stress this. In the regular name, in the regular email, have the student put their own. If you are the person that's, has a student coming here potentially, you're the emergency contact, not the actual student. And the reason this is important is because I'll tell you that, and I'll tell you right now, we're on duty. We call sometimes. I had to call for, something that we just had to check up with the student. And when I called 7 o'clock at night, instead of the student picking up, the parent did. And the parent was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I must have had the wrong phone number." And so we work with your student. We're up different hours. We know your student says, "Hey, yeah, you can call me at 7 p.m. And if we go to call the student and it's you, we don't want to put you through that. And we don't want to have to go around, just to make sure we're helping your student out. And then, like I said, the meal plan selection is open in August. You'll be able to select the meal plan that you wish to have.
So there we go. Sorry. Part of the housing application is where students can actually rank their housing preferences. So of course, this comes to the big question of, well, what are the options out there? So for our first year freshman students coming in, they have one area that is available only to freshman students. And this is both housing 2 and housing 3. These housing areas, they kind of offer all the standards in the rooms that we have. Our beds are all twin XLs. The bed frames are fully adjustable up to something, I think it's almost like 3.5 feet tall, to, well, pretty much right down to the floor. So, they can fit lots of storage underneath, things like that. We do have Wi-Fi in all of our residence halls, in all the apartments, so Wi-Fi is readily available. The heating and air conditioning, we actually have it in all of our areas also, including housing 2, 3. actually kind of proud. Not all places have AC in New Jersey, so we're one of them. So in the room, there's one micro fridge. Doesn't mean a teeny tiny one, but it's actually a microwave on top of a mini fridge. It does have a small freezer section, nothing expensive, but enough for students kind of in that style of room. There is
Perfect for bagel bites.
100%. The floors do have community lounges. There is free laundry. There in housing 2, there are 2 central laundry areas that students can use, and housing 3, there is a washer and dryer per floor. And then obviously we take all of our safety seriously, so all the floors are equipped with smoke detectors, sprinkler systems, alarms. We do fire drills, everything like that. So, just keep in mind that we're here to make sure students are safe as well. The housing types in these areas. So housing 2 offers singles, doubles, and triples for this upcoming year, and housing 3 is offering singles and doubles. So quite literally how it sounds: singles, 1 person, should be no roommate conflicts there. Housing 2, housing 2 and 3 both have doubles, and housing 3 does have triples. We will make a note that housing 2 triples are the one area where there is a bunk bed, and unfortunately we cannot unbunk that bed. So students actually don't mind. It's not a bad jump up to the top bunk, but it's something to keep in mind if your students are looking at that room style.
And before I cover the next slide, just so you know, if you're thinking, oh my goodness, how many triples are there? It's a handful. It is not the most plentiful option we have by any stretch of the imagination. There is literally 1 per floor in housing 2, and that's it. So if you want a triple for cost reasons, great, awesome, do it to it. If you don't want a triple, you're not going to need to worry about that too much.
Could I speak on triples real quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nick, jump in there, friend.
just because my freshman year at Stockton, I did live in a triple, and I believe they're like about the same square footage per person. And it was like a comfortable enough living space. There was enough space, to move around, and I didn't feel like I was getting gypped out. It felt like a good value. So just wanted to throw in my 2 cents there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's living color right there. We got information for you on that. So thank you. I appreciate that. So as far as the housing 1 option, we have 2 style of apartments that the students that are coming in as freshmen, first year students versus also transfers, is the housing 1 apartments. And so in the housing 1 apartments, we have 4 persons shared. This is 2 students per bedroom. It has been 5-person apartments, so you might have heard that in the past. For the upcoming year, it's going to remain 4-person apartments. Okay. Now, know this: wherever your student's living, or if you're the student, wherever you're living, Twin XL. Twin XL. I know I can't see you, I can't hear you, but say it with me: Twin XL. Do not come to campus with a twin setup. It's not going to fit. The corner of your bed's going to be popped out. I know this from experience because when I was a freshman here back in the day, I had a twin sheet, and guess what? Didn't fit. So you want Twin XL. There is a difference. Again, Wi-Fi, 2 bedrooms, heating and air conditioning. We have air conditioning all over campus. Full kitchen, full-size refrigerator, and a gas range. Free laundry that's located in one of the middle court of the entire housing complex. Smoke detector, sprinkler systems, alarms. Fire safety is very important to us. Safety is the number 1 priority that we have here at Stockton University in our residential facilities. Again, now one thing that's unique to housing 1 versus housing 2, 3. Housing 2 and 3, you are required to have a meal plan. You are required to have a meal plan in 2 and 3. Housing 1, you do not need to have a meal plan, but you can have a meal plan. The nice thing about housing 1 is that you do get to select from a different number of meal plans versus housing 2 and 3, which the first semester you need to get a weekly plan. In the spring semester, we let you get a block. If I can get the next slide, please, James.
Of course.
Now, the other option we have for first-year students is Atlantic City. Now, Atlantic City is the newest. It's the fanciest, right? That housing area is offered to our first year students and transfer students. Again, twin XL, Wi-Fi, air conditioning. You're getting the spiel, right? Free laundry. Now, in Atlantic City, we have an Atlantic City parking garage, and that parking garage is right next door.
Mhm.
You swipe in, security's there as well. 24/7 front desk security, police substation, smoke detector, sprinkler alarms, all that stuff. Now, our friend here, Nick, lives there. Nick, can you give us a little, any other tidbits of information you might be able to share about the Atlantic City complex?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So a big concern that a lot of people have about living in Atlantic City is that a lot of the classes, specifically for like STEM and some other courses, are on the Galloway campus, and they're thinking, oh, how am I going to transport myself? And there's actually a really wonderful shuttle system that I take like every day, that I go on, and it runs like 2 times an hour to and from Galloway. There's constantly buses running to and from, and it's only for Stockton students, so it's not even like real public transportation. It's just taking you to and from. It's like completely safe, very clean, and it's just taking you like where you need to go onto the Galloway campus. I think it's not quite as big a deal as people make it out to be. Additionally, there are studying rooms in the residential building. There's a gym facility in the building. It's not quite like a full weight room with like barbells for like and like things for deadlifting and squat racks and stuff, but it's absolutely fine. It gets the job done, and yeah, I think I really can't stress enough how nice the apartments are, because I lived on freshman side as an RA for like 4 years, and uh, Atlantic City is just like such a breath of fresh air. You're right on the boardwalk, and I really highly recommend this for anyone that's looking for like a unique experience at Stockton.
Thank you.
I can make a note there because I saw a question come through the chat, and the one thing about like going there for your freshman year, I'll say that you're not going to miss out on anything living in Atlantic City your freshman year. Our big thing is that, especially, well, one thing we've learned in this last year, we're able to do programming even at a distance, but even our program model when we're in person is very active. In Atlantic City, the first year living environment, we actually put our first year students kind of in the same corridor together. So they're already creating that community right away. So you kind of know that just about all your neighbors, with maybe the exception of the RA right around the corner, they are, they're going through the same experience you are. It also has the opportunity that a lot of these sessions and events, we will hold both freshman year, first year experiences in Galloway as well as in Atlantic City. And there will be events that draw all of our first year students from Galloway to AC, and same thing from AC to Galloway. The big note in general with activities, and this is for any first year student or transfer student, I also have to remind you that it is about you coming out to the events, whether they are in person or virtual, because that is a big part of that freshman experience. So yeah, so I just wanted to address that really fast as we go through. Let me jump to the next slide, because it does talk a little more about the styles. So in Atlantic City, for your application, you'll be able to choose the two types that are the 4-person shared or 4-person private. The style of apartments, the 4 shared, it's once again 2 students per bedroom, but those 2 students each have their own bathroom attached to their room. The center of the apartment is like the kitchen and common area. The 4-person private is 4 individual bedrooms, 1 student per bedroom, but then it does have 2 bathrooms still for the 4 students to share. And again, in the common area, kitchen, all set to go. Okay.
Oh, the James, I'm gonna take this one from you.
You got it.
I'm a big fan of this one. All right, so here's the deal. You're wherever you are right now, and you're a potential student, you're a potential, parental unit, you're a potential, some kind of, observer of the wonderfulness that is open house for us. And as you can see so far, admissions puts on a darn good show. But maybe you haven't been able to get here yet, and you're really wondering what's going on with this housing here at Stockton. Well, here's the deal. This is what's awesome. If you go to the housing options on the Stockton website, okay, if you search that right on that little link up in the right-hand corner, you can choose all the different housing areas right from the accordion view. You can select the virtual tours and you can literally, not figuratively, literally click your way through any and all of our housing options. If you happen to be someone who's fancy and has a VR headset, or if you have, a smaller version for your phone, you can walk through the different spaces as well.
Mm-hmm.
Only caveat to these is that the way that housing one is depicted is set up with the 5-person furniture in there. And at this point, we are still taking a look to see if we'll have the storage capacity to be able to remove all the furniture from that triple bedroom, or if we'll just take out the bed, things like that. Because it does leave a little bit of extra storage space if we leave some of that stuff as well. That being said, everything you see in there. Oh, and the other thing is we don't have the reduced rate doubles for this upcoming year, and that is a link on the website as well. That was a smaller space that's going to be a single for the upcoming year, trying to make sure we keep you all safe as well, right? But you can walk through, click through, see what it looks like, see what it will look like when you move in. James or Nick, if you want to add to that, that's fine. I get excited about the virtual tours.
No, they're kind of amazing because it really does actually give you that feeling of what it's like to actually walk around the room. So it is actually a very cool experience. I definitely recommend checking it out. We did kind of run through all the housing options that are present for, our first year students or transfer students. How do you, your student, how do they indicate your preferences? Well, in the application, you do actually rank your housing preferences. So your first choice will be the one that, we're gearing you up to first. Now, we have to be honest, we would love to put everyone in their first choice, but it is, we are working off limited availability. So we always recommend to students is that, hey, if you know what you're looking for and you're ready to apply, the sooner you apply, the better. It just increases your chances. But we do take into factor several different things. So one is, do you have selected roommates and have you formed, let's say, a group of you trying to go together? Because let's say if Atlantic City, you listen to us chat about it, and then you're going to go on this virtual tour, that might be your top choice. Well, if you do know that, hey, from my hometown, I know Brian and Nick are applying also. We decided, hey, we want to live together. It's also good for us to chat and be like, okay, I filled out my housing application. We request each other to be roommates. And we're going to make sure we put that, 4-person private as a top choice. That's really where we want to go. But, after that, hey, maybe we're down for the housing 2 triple because there's 3 of us. So that'll be our second choice. But these are good conversations to have. But now we know you might not know anyone coming right away. And, down the line, you might know. Well, we keep that option open to keep your roommate preferences going until that priority deadline date. So just keep that in mind is that you are more than welcome to apply right now, get everything in there, and you need to update your preferences after you do find a roommate you're interested in living with. We'll work with you then too.
One question I received just now that's good for everyone to hear and know the answer to is, if you don't find someone, pick someone as a roommate, what happens then? We'll match you up with people based on the answers that you put on the application that you filled out. Now, if you choose to have a single and you are successful in receiving a single, well, then you know your roommate already. If you're going to be in a double or a triple or a quad, you will get 1 to 2 to 3 additional roommates, right? Mm-hmm. And we try to match you up as best we can based on that questionnaire, which is why it's so important to be honest with yourself when you're doing that questionnaire as well. Okay.
So now we're just going to run through a couple of the common questions that we get, some things before, we open it up to more questions. So, Brian, do you want to take this one or should I dive into it?
Sure. Let me jump on in. What about COVID? So, all right, here's the deal. It's the, large elephant in the room, still here, tapping you on the shoulder. What's going on? I'm going to tell you what's going on. Okay. First and foremost, we take our COVID precautions very seriously. We follow the guidelines from the CDC and the governor's office, and we do that to put you in a position for success because the first option here is, or the first task here, the first role here as a student is to go to class, get good grades. But there's also the question of what are we doing, as far as it concerns things with COVID. So first and foremost, we have pared down from having reduced rate doubles to singles and having 5 people in an apartment to 4. And we're comfortable with where we're at with what that will be for the fall. That's first. Second, um, we will be working with our students as they're coming in with what the guidelines and protocols will be as far as guests. And right now, the guests aren't allowed on campus. However, as things start to get better and open up, and I guess the biggest thing I want to stress to you is this. We're going to move, ebb and flow. We don't have to stay in one rigid space. So if Governor Murphy or the CDC changes something tomorrow, we're not going to wait 100 days to change something. We are going to work in ebb and flow. And our leadership here at Stockton University, the board and the president's office and all of our vice presidents and so on and so forth, they are going to make the best decisions for the student and making sure that they're safe, that they're enjoying themselves. And then we, as Residential Life, have programming models, and I'm going to have Nick talk a little bit about, some of the programming that we're able to do, because Nick can speak to both models a little bit, because Nick, you've been through both models.
Yeah.
Tap you in 1 second, Nick. And then, so we have created these spaces to make sure that whatever is the case, we will be able to provide you with enjoyable entertainment and working with you to make sure that you are comfortable in your space as well. Nick, can you speak a little bit to the two different program models and their involvement and interactions?
Yeah, absolutely. So prior to COVID, I'm going to just start with that one. Prior to COVID, basically it was each RA. So if you're living on freshman side, each floor has an RA. So that RA is responsible for having passive programs, which are things like interacting with you without necessarily putting on a full event. So that could be something like, okay, I'm going to send out like a questionnaire or something to kind of gauge like what you all want to do. And then we'll have like a movie night one day. Or for instance, putting out like notes so that everyone can kind of leave each other like notes or something, a little more like direction than just that, for instance. But those are kind of the passive programs. The other thing RAs are in charge of in the old model is putting on active programs, which are really like the big events, like, okay, we're all going to gather up, we're going to have a volleyball tournament, our floor versus another floor, we're going to do that kind of thing. Or we're going to have a movie night, and then we're going to talk about the movie and discuss things that, for instance, like one program I put on in the past that was really successful was we watched the movie Twilight, and then we had a discussion about healthy relationships and what aren't healthy relationships according to media. So there's always kind of got to be an educational aspect to them, because we want, the RAs to put in a little extra thought into them to make sure they're not just, okay, we're all going to hang out and eat popcorn and watch a movie. It could totally be that, and that might be what you take away from it, and that's totally valid. But like there just is a level of thought put into these active programs that there's extra effort there. In the old model, I guess the biggest difference also is food was a big incentive for people coming out to programs. With COVID, we've really had to shift away from that for obvious reasons. Keeping masks on, remaining safe, but there are other incentives. For instance, the big one this year is we are handing out in Atlantic City sand dollars, which are little tickets you can get. And Galloway, we're handing out tree dollars, which are the incentives. So every program you go to, you'll get one of these tickets. And then at the end of the semester, when it's warmer out, because warmer means we can be outside and have bigger programs outdoors while, maintaining social distance and being safe about things, you can put these tickets into a raffle. And that's kind of like you could win, like, I think we're trying to get a couple Nintendo Switches or like some AirPods, just like prizes that you would want to do. I think we're even trying to get like food trucks to come so you can buy your own individually wrapped food. Just, keeping things safe. So there are these considerations that are made, but in the current programming model that we're doing, we're also doing, and I think this might carry over in the future as well, just because I've seen some really big success with it. there's been a lot more emphasis on these big community programs, we've called them so far, where it's all the RAs and CDs and GCs kind of collaborating on a big program. So it's kind of like a fair that you can go out to and interact with people, and it's a good way to get involved. They're usually outside, so those are kind of the main differences between the models, I would say.
And that was a phenomenal wrap up of the different two. And the biggest thing again to remember is that we're going to ebb and flow. We're going to be about it. So if we're in a position in the fall where things are looking good, if we can do a combination of the two, great. And one thing that Nick said that I think is really important to mention, we've had to change some stuff this year, but there are some really awesome things that we came across that we're definitely going to continue because they were just so successful. I'll tell you right now, late November, early February, if we say, hey, come to this X building and come out and come do this, those were sometimes slower events that we had just because the student looks outside and like, yeah, I'm not about that life. I'm going to skip that one because it's cold or it's rainy and I don't want to do that. Well, in some of these online arenas, they've had some really great success, whether they're doing, Among Us, or they're doing, a variety of different hot topic items and things. So some of that stuff's going to definitely stay, whether we move to the old model or not again, the once and future model, I'll call it, just because some of the stuff is really impactful and helpful. So we're learning and growing as we get through this as well. But thank you, Nick. I really appreciate that summation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the notes, I got a question about, just with COVID guidelines. So we have, the spaces that are offered that might seem, a bit small, like the doubles and triples. We have gone through and we have checked that they do follow to make sure that they are of the right distancing between beds, to make sure students have their space. Nick actually kind of threw in the great example is that while we do know that the triple has the closeness, we do find that still it's every student has the right amount of space to them for that amount, like for that room, for having 3 students in there. So, we are, I know it might sound strange, but we actually went there last year. Oh gosh, and we measured everything. So, as Brian noted earlier, like in the long days and late nights, we made sure that everything was kind of safe and ready for the students to return to campus.
And another thing, just to piggyback on that, we piggyback a lot here because that's our train of thought. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind that, once you are living with those individuals, that becomes basically your pod. That's your people. Mm-hmm. Those are the people that you're living with, you're spending time with. And, one of the phenomenal things we found this year is that we've done a really good job of having our students live on campus and they understanding that and them working with that. And that goes from freshman up to senior and back down again. And, so you'd be surprised how once people have, especially this past year, a lot of, if you're an incoming freshman, wherever you're going to go, and I hope it's Stockton, I came here, I loved it, I've never left. But wherever you're looking at going, right now, your senior year kind of been a struggle in some areas. And I understand that because of the pandemic. Even half of your junior year, some of the stuff, or if you're a transfer student, you've seen how some of the stuff has had, some impacts. When you get to the space and you get to live with 2, 3 new students, and you're able to really start to build those relationships, and you're in that area, you are going to be spending a lot of time together. But those are the people you're going to be spending a lot of time together with. And when you're outside of your room, you'll be masked up potentially, and all those different guidelines that we'll be following as well.
So students do ask us every time they do the application about how to choose a roommate. So because, there's, I will say that we have a lot of students that come in, they're looking for a fresh start coming to Stockton. Some students do not want to pick that roommate. They want to see how they get matched up and roll with it. There's, we always joke around in our office that we hear like, well, I get the random. The reality is that you are the random as well, because that other student has the same mentality. It's just, you are another student going through the process. And so we hope that the process of your profile pairs you up, you really get a new experience, and it's a good chance to actually break that mold and kind of break that shell and meet somebody. So we do like, but you might come in also saying, no, I have somebody I want to live with. I already know their tics. I know their habits. I know how they leave the toothpaste on the counter. I'm cool with that. But I would say, so you can't, if there's another student that has completed their housing application and then the same class as you. So if you're a first year coming in as a freshman student, if you're a transfer student, you can search for other students in those classification, and you'll be able to confirm each other that you want to be roommates. So what we do is, as we work on the assignments, our process looks at try to pair up students with their confirmed roommates first, and then moves down to the housing preferences and things like that. But you can do that on the housing application. That stays open and active until our priority date. If you're applying after the priority date, you can still email us, and we can't guarantee if the space is taken already, but whenever we can, we will help any student out. So
Sure.
that one.
For gender inclusive housing, basically we offer the option for students to live with, all students of all different gender identities. So if that could be anything from, if your student or you are the student and you're in a space where you're, transitioning and whatnot, or if, your gender identity is neutral, you can live with other students like that. In addition, that also covers, we have sometimes where we'll have brother and sister who come and want to live together. We have different ways for our gender inclusive housing where we allow those students to be able to work through that. There's a form, they can go fill that out. And then we'll, have them opt into that. It is something you opt into. And we set aside housing in apartments or on a floor for those specific purposes. And, if, you have any more information on that or you have more questions about that, by all means, you can email us at housing@stockton.edu. That's housing@stockton.edu.
So we do know that for some students, you might have friends that came here, siblings that came here, family members that came here. We do have a few more housing areas on campus that may not be listed in your application. And we do get a question a lot of why not? So there is a housing renewal process. It's actually where Brian and I came from right before this meeting, that we're doing information sessions for about how students select back into housing. So renewing students, they choose housing quite early on. So some other areas such as Housing 4 and Housing 5, which didn't get a lot of mention tonight, it's because those areas actually have the fewest number of beds of almost all our housing areas on campus. So by the time our freshmen or transfer students are placed into housing, most of the time those areas are full. So we don't want to put that on the housing preference list, because if let's say a transfer student's coming in, they say, hey, yeah, I definitely want to live in Housing 4 first, what will happen is that if Housing 4 is full, we're automatically skipping to their second, third choice. And how that comes across, well, it's not because we don't want to entertain that. It's just, if there's no space, it just makes it seem like that we went all the way to the bottom of your list. So it is one of those things that we will say that when you go through the process, the housing options available are what are more likely to be available. If you have special requests, please reach out to us, but we do have to note that we can't guarantee a placement in your top choice. So
I feel like we've kind of covered this one about 18 slides in a row, so I think we can skip over this one, James.
Yeah, no, that's true. So let's see.
Now to the important part. You could type right in the chat, ask us some questions, and then James, Nick, or myself will answer some of them. So what questions do you have? You can type right in the chat to us. If we didn't cover something.
James and Brian, just so you know, I haven't been seeing any of the messages you guys have been saying popping up. So
no worries. If we get one, we will. Don't you worry. We will.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Someone asked, how do I change my room preference after I've submitted an application? That email right there that says housing@stockton.edu that has the little red squiggly through it. I'm not really sure what that was, James.
No, not sure either. So
all right, that's the email. Email us at that housing@stockton.edu if you need to change your room preference, and we can do that manually for you. Any other questions out there from you? Could be about housing, could be about the programming, could be, you think you're thinking we're awesome. You want to, tell some jokes, whatever you got.
If there aren't any questions, I will just answer one that I've gotten before.
Go for it.
From freshmen when I've done kind of one of these things before,
Sure.
which was, I just saw this one. What are some activities you guys have to offer? I want to get to my question real quick, just because I think it is an important one, which is where would I recommend that freshmen kind of end up living? I don't think there are specifically really any bad options, so I want to get that out of the way right away. But freshman side, housing 2 and 3 really does offer a very uniquely, it's a very unique experience where you get to live specifically with all a population of people that are going through the same transition that you are into college. So there are a lot of friendships formed there. Programming is very uniform and kind of targeted all towards freshmen. Whereas if you're a freshman living possibly in a different area, it may not be as all around you. That culture might just not be like as consistent everywhere, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is different. And I don't know if there's ever necessarily going to be another chance for a lot of people to live completely with people who are all going through kind of the same thing that you are, like in mass. So I would really recommend housing 2 and 3 to a lot of freshmen coming in. Every freshman I've talked to and every RA who works on freshman side I've talked to has overwhelmingly said like they feel like that is the kind of quintessential freshman experience. Like I said, you're not missing out completely because there is always going to be RAs and Res Life staff who are providing for you and targeting their programming directly towards you. But if you had a choice and wanted to know kind of where someone who's been in Res Life for a long time working directly like with students on a daily basis, that's really where I fall. I want to get to Alicia's question. What are some activities you guys have to offer? I mean, like I said, those programs I talked about before were big ones. I know one of our RAs, Ethan, this semester did a pull-up activity where it was kind of measuring your physical fitness and kind of giving you some education about like, okay, so if you can do this many pull-ups, it means you fall on this kind of line on the spectrum of like fitness. That kind of thing is pretty common. I know we've done scavenger hunts in the Atlantic City campus. Volleyball tournaments are absolutely not uncommon. Same with like basketball shootouts. It's also not just the Office of Residential Life that's doing programming. Like there are different offices all around Stockton that do programming. I know the I guess gym kind of facilities have put on, especially at the beginning of the fall semester, they really put on a lot of they did like a home run derby. They did shootouts like every day. They had just all sorts of stuff like that. There are soccer games on campus. There are volleyball games on campus that you can go to and kind of support the Ospreys, hopefully, and not root for the other team. And basketball games. So there really are a lot of things to kind of do. You just kind of need to look around a little bit, and you can find a lot of things to do.
I'll field this next one. Or go ahead, James. You look like you had something to add. I apologize.
Oh no, I was just going to say the other thing is I will say is that what's going to be unique about the upcoming year, because we did touch on it a little bit, is we're going to be opening up a lot of more activities in a way. And I mean this because we're now we have things that we've always done. We've had things that we've just learned how to do. And I think it's going to be really exciting about the upcoming years, the things that we create new out of that. So, I mean, the great thing about living on campus is that the activities actually, nothing against anyone that needs to commute, wants to commute, but living on campus puts you in touch with a lot of these activities that happen after hours, early morning, during the day. puts you at access for academics. So, you are here for academics too. Puts you on the opportunity for those. We bring tutoring to the housing areas. We did it virtually this last year, but that's something that we still do. And then we also have those opportunities just to have interactions and have conversations, whether it was socially distanced this year or, like on your floor in your area next year, hopefully. So we're looking forward to kind of bringing back those activities with
and before I answer Tyler's, I think it's pronounced Tyler's question, I will also add, there's also 190 clubs and organizations on campus, and they're still active. I'm an advisor for one of them. Even during COVID, even during the summer of COVID, we kept meeting weekly virtually. We're still doing stuff together, still, so, and the one thing I would say is that as far as getting involved is concerned, and listen, I'm not trying to sell you a bed here, but if you're looking to get involved and the clubs and orgs are meeting at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night in some cases, depending on the organization, living on campus makes it a little bit easier. I'm not gonna lie, because then you're not having to drive back 45 minutes that night. So it's things to consider as well.
I will also say, just like,
go ahead, please.
At least living on campus for 1 year, like, absolutely.
Sure, yeah.
Puts you in touch with all of those organizations. Maybe through those organizations, I know a lot of times in Greek life, people will kind of meet other people in Greek life and they'll end up moving in together and becoming roommates in apartments. And like, that's totally fine. But really having that gateway to introduction to the resources on campus, I think is really important. And, I totally get it. College is absolutely expensive and that should be taken into consideration. But I think it is really important to put yourself out there and try and get that experience. I would say you owe it to yourself, but I don't want to sound too cliche.
Hey, cliche away. So Tyler said, what are some suggestions for that first year student? What should they bring? We already covered the Twin XL. So for me, and you too, if you have any other things to add, please, by all means. But for me, I always have the Mount Rushmore of items. My top 4 things that I always suggest. 1, go out, pay a little extra if you have to, but go and get a nice memory foam topper for your bed. Our beds, they're not bad. They're honestly, earnestly, they're not that bad. I lived on them, I slept on them, they were fine. But if you're looking to really make that comfort, definitely look into getting a memory foam topper. That's always my number 1. My number 2 always is get yourself a nice caddy for the shower. Whether it is one that if you're going to live in an apartment, you might bring your stuff back and forth. Get yourself a nice caddy. Whether you use it to go, if you're on the freshman dorms and you're using it to go back and forth from the bathroom to your room, or if you're living in the apartments, either way, get a nice caddy. That's number 2 for me. Number 3 is invest in, and again, these are just mine, right? Okay. Invest in a nice pair of, maybe not nice, this, $20-30, but make sure you're bringing some sort of shoe or boot or rain shoe or something, because here's the deal. Our campus is beautiful. If you haven't been here yet, you got to check it out. We're in the Pine Barrens, or if you're over in the city, you got the beach, you got the boardwalk, but you also got sand and dirt. And if there's rain, there's snow, you're going to want a nice weathered shoe if possible. And the last thing I always say is a fan, a personal fan. Could be like, about this big, sits on your desk, sits under, blowing on you, blowing away from you. I always suggest getting a fan, and here's why. Because if the whole apartment agrees that they want to keep it at 72 degrees in the apartment, but you're more of a 70-degree kind of person, boom, you got your fan to sleep with. If you're someone who's living in the dorms and you're next to a roommate, you're real cool with them, but hey, they like to play a little Xbox, till 10:30 at night, and you're trying to be conscientious, you throw on your fan, it drowns out noise. Those are my Those are my top 4 things I always suggest. Again, that's a fan, that's a memory foam topper for your twin XL bed. That is some sort of weathered shoe and a shower caddy. James and Nick, you got anything you want to add to that?
I mean, I like your Mount Rushmore. I think that's actually for the essentials. I will throw one in. My college experience, and even I worked as an RA and then a grad coordinator as well. I lived in apartments the moment I could when I was in my college experience, and I will throw this out there. I loved cooking ever since I could. So going to college when I had that kitchen, it was the best thing ever. I actually recommend a cheap set of cookware. The reason to say cheap is you do not bring your nice things because you know what? I lent my beautiful nonstick pan to one of my fellow RAs back in the day, way back. And, they were kind enough to clean it for me, but they took the Scotch-Brite to it harder than anything I've ever seen. And while the pan was pretty much not stick just on the edges when I got it back. So I always like to throw that out there because, I mean, if you are a cook, somebody that likes to, but you're not sure about your roommates, not sure about lending it out, cheaper the better.
Yep.
The kitchens are great to cook in here. Like you have the range, you're all set to go. What I always like to say is that, if you go to one of the, the large stores, they usually have that college prep one that's like 30 pieces in a box for $10. Done. Because if something breaks, it's not that heartbreaking. Or if you're learning how to cook, well, the things you use more wear down, but that's where you're going to buy better next time. So
Nick, what's your essential? Throw your two out there.
I have two things. First, a Swiffer / also maybe a vacuum, because
nice little dirt devil, $10 special. Yeah.
There are tile floors in a lot of housing, and I didn't realize what a nuisance it is to have little pieces of dirt sticking to your feet after you've come in from the outside world and you just want to crawl in bed and you have all these crumbs on your feet of just like dirt and whatever. And it is not pleasant. But having a Swiffer, this is my endorsement for it. Absolutely get a Swiffer. Maybe a vacuum too, because some apartments have carpet, so that's not a bad investment either. And then my other thing is shower shoes. Just get a pair of flip-flops or something that you can wear into the showers. If you're on freshman side, it is communal showers. So, I'm not saying they're dirty or anything. They're absolutely all cleaned every single day. But if that's something that would bother you, bring shower shoes. That's something that I feel like I see a lot of people bring.
Oh, also, and listen, I'm gonna throw this out there. I apologize. I know we're going to move on. We will. If you're a potential freshman, if you're a parent or a guardian or a family member, make sure y'all bring some towels.
Yeah.
Because that's something that we all have forgotten at the first start. Oh no. So make sure you get a towel, all right? I'll throw this next question out for some people. After freshman year, where do most students live? Housing 145 AC. That's what we got. Those are the offerings. We're going to keep moving. That's an easy one for you.
I was going to do a two-part. We got some of it direct messages, some group. So as far as the Greek organizations, we do not have Greek housing on campus. So that's something to note. But students are eligible to start pledging. I want to say last I looked, this is definitely a student development area, but I want to say they have to complete their first semester. With the
so second semester freshman year is when Greek life can start being an option for you.
Yep. And, then there's the requirements, GPA requirements, everything like that. So it's something to look into. Where do they live on campus? I mean, truthfully, because we don't have, Greek houses, but we do find students that, let's say join a sorority or fraternity together. They tend to form roommate groups in their future years, and that creates great communities right on campus too. As far as athletes, because I got that question also, it really depends. We have some athletes that, let's say, do sports that are more located in the fields in Galloway and things like that. And they look to live in, housing 2, 3, 1, 4, 5 here. However, we do also get students that say, well, I really love AC and I'm going to live in AC, even if that means I have to wake up a little early to get over to, practice. Yeah. It's really, I say, up to the student in the end, but we will say some sports, especially the ones that are on the fields, those students tend to look for Galloway first.
And someone asked about floors and gender. In the apartments, the standard, unless you opt in, and in the res halls, the standard, unless you opt into gender inclusive housing, are are the legacy genders. It's a male floor, a female floor. Again, we do have gender inclusive housing. You have to opt into those options though. All right.
In the apartments, it is still by apartment. It is the legacy genders, but your neighbor might be different gender inclusive, anything like that. But so on the floors, still that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about freshman side, it's generally, so it's like there's usually 3 floors to a building. So it might be girl floor, guy floor, girl floor. It might be, there's usually only a floor maybe of gender inclusive housing, just for an idea of how many people opt into it. There absolutely could be more, but so it might be like gender inclusive floor, then male floor, then female floor. That's just kind of the breakdown of it.
Any other question for us?
Trying to make sure I got everything now.
I'm not seeing any on my private one. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Themed living communities. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead, Nick. You comfortable with that one?
Yeah, I'm absolutely comfortable with that.
Go for it then.
So in terms of themed living communities, in years past, there were, as far as I was aware, only a couple different ones. There was like a STEM living community. I was actually the RA for that one year. And there was like an honors themed living community, stuff like that, where it's like, it used to just be like, okay, anyone in a specific, like, okay, STEM students are all STEM. So if you were on a STEM floor, it was everyone there was, in the sciences. So you might have like bio major, chem major, physics major, health sciences, all on one floor. That was cool. But actually they've recently been completely revamped by Darius Edwards, who I believe works in Res Life still. I'm not sure of his exact title, but he's certainly in the Res Life offices a lot. He completely has revamped them. There are so many different themed living communities. There's one, Live Lavender is the gender inclusive one. That's the name for that one. There's House of STEM also. I really can't think of all of them just because I think there are like 10 at this point, where it's, you opt into, I am interested in this topic or being involved with specifically this group of people, or people with this interest. So I will opt into these things. My freshman year, I lived on a STEM floor, and it was really cool. Both my roommates were in kind of similar classes to me. We were aware of each other's course loads. So that was really cool. And then like I was able to borrow textbooks off of people because those things are expensive and I didn't want to buy all of them. So I got to use my bio textbook for completely free. So
one thing I want to throw on there as well is that, so if you think, wow, the theme community sounds pretty neat, but my roommate doesn't want to live in that theme community, that's okay. You can still attend the theme community meetings and programming, even if you don't live in the area, and vice versa. If your roommate's like, man, I really want to live in the political science themed living community, but my roommate wants to do that, but I don't. That's okay too. You don't have to go to all the stuff that is the theme living community if it's not your interest. But here's the deal. I suggest you go or interact and do as much as you can, because you got 4 years here. You got maybe 5 years here, or we go somewhere else. I mean, I would obviously love if you come to Stockton because, again, I've spent the majority of my life here. I suggest do everything. Do it all. You're paying for it. Enjoy it. Learn, grow. Like, just absorb it all. Be a sponge. Be something that grows more than a sponge. I don't know, but take it all in, because I'm telling you now, before you even start, like that, it's gonna be over. Nick's a grad student and he's already down the end of the road.
Don't look at me, I'm old.
It just goes so quick. So I suggest if you see something interesting, do it. Go enjoy it. Go learn something. Go ahead.
I want to add to that, just because even if you're not thinking of, like, you're not necessarily someone who thinks that you would want to be involved in Greek life or something like that, that's totally fine. There are so many resources on campus that are just valuable to like any individual who would want them. We have a counseling center on campus that puts you in touch with like counselors or therapists in some situations. And those are like such phenomenal resources. That we have like an art museum on campus. We have a theater on campus, which are things that I wasn't really super aware of my freshman year. But you would be doing a disservice to yourself if you're living on campus and you're paying all this money, all this tuition, and then not making use of all of these resources that are available to you. It is totally a cliche, but it is completely true. You get out what you put in to your time at college, and that will be the case anywhere that you go. Yeah. Get involved with anything and you will have an infinitely better time at whatever institution you end up at. If Stockton isn't a perfect fit for you, that's totally okay. But any institution that you go to as a college student, get involved at.
I will do a shameless plug for our, our Get Involved fair, because we have this opportunity where students can sign up to literally all the clubs and organizations that want to table, that want to present. We did it virtually this last year, but normally we take over the academic spine. And I will tell any student, you sign up, you put your name on every listserv, because then you know what's going on, and you have an opportunity to go. I will make one note, I got a direct message when we were talking about the, themed communities. For the honors community, that one you will be working with the honors program director. We do have, I will say, it's about half the students in the honors program choose to live on the honors community floor their first year. The other half, they decide not to because, it's really up to them, because they might have different roommates they're looking to live with. What I'll say is that if you're accepted in the honors program, your students accepted in the honors program, follow up with the honors community director, and you'll actually probably see my face again at one of the meetings when we talk about housing later on.
And this will be the last question we answer for the evening, and then we'll let you all go because we've kind of kept you here late. Someone asked, what happens if you have a conflict with your roommate? And that generally speaks to a larger thing that I wanted to close on is what residential life's role is in this whole beautiful thing that is college. So we have somewhere around 100 RAs. We have grad coordinators who live on campus. We have complex directors that live on campus. We have area coordinators that live on campus. We have a management team that doesn't live on campus. However, we always have RAs, grad coordinators, or complex directors, and a management team member on duty 24/7, 365. And then on leap years, we got you covered there too. And so what we do is we're always there for you. And we have office hours, and we also have RA duty hours until midnight. And then from midnight until we open again, we have someone on duty. We're always there for you. If you have a roommate conflict, you email the grad coordinator that's in charge of your area, and we do roommate mediations. We'll sit you both down. We'll talk it out. We'll figure it out. If you're like, yeah, we just need to really get through this together and figure this out, we'll come up with plans and agreements. And we have, when you first move in, you fill out a roommate contract where you say, this is our standard of living. Maybe I like to go to bed at midnight and James likes to go to bed at 2 a.m. Maybe we say, you know what, 12:45 lights out. We work through that, progression. And then if all of a sudden, I'm sitting there yelling at James, he better be in bed by 9, we're going to go to that roommate agreement and see what we got to do. But if there's emergencies, if there's situations that happen, if you're, sleeping in bed and all of a sudden the light fixture breaks because you got up aggressively for a drink of water and smacked it with your hand, and you talk to us, you reach out to us. We also have our on-campus police department in both locations, both campuses. Mm-hmm. The hospital on campus in Galloway, and we have literally an urgent care in our parking garage in Atlantic City. We are here for you in any and all situations, and there's nothing too small, nothing too big that we haven't seen, we haven't dealt with, and we won't deal with in the future, and we work with you on that.
That was good.
All right, everyone. Listen, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate y'all coming out here this evening and for sticking with us here until almost 9-10 at night. Mm-hmm. All great. If you have any other questions, housing@stockton.edu, type up your message, hit the send button, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you all, and you have a good evening.
Everyone,
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for coming.